Hi, everyone. Although daydreaming seems to have close ties with source confusion, that is, a source as to where the memory came from, and memory and the quality of memory, research on the link between these concepts is sparse. We conducted a study to examine the association between maladaptive daydreaming, source confusion, and memory errors. I'd like to report to you the results of this study and a subsequent one that followed it. We asked participants with elevated maladaptive daydreaming scores, we asked them several questions about daydreaming and memory. 51% confirmed that they had experienced a daydream, which they later considered an event that they had experienced. More specifically, when inspecting their answers, the following five response themes emerge, and I will elaborate on each one later on. The first theme was a blurred fantasy reality boundary. Second, maladaptive daydreaming and social interactions, how they are being confused or not. Daydreaming influencing memories of today, and daydreams and memories missed, and also realizing memories were dreams. So I will now elaborate on these key themes. A common denominator, I must say, connected these various themes. Most confabulated storylines actually correct a negative past occurrence or rehearse a potentially grim future one. Our findings revealed that individuals who experience maladaptive daydreaming may report confabulations, that is, create false memories of plausible or desired experiences. Examples of the theme of blurred fantasy reality boundaries demonstrated that the risk of confusing fantasy with reality increased when daydreaming included scenes and persons from the participants' actual lives. This finding has reminded me of findings of false memory research that showed that incorrect memory formation are created around events of which people have some knowledge about. Past research has demonstrated that when people are told that they experienced a false event of which they have limited background knowledge, for example, a rectal enema, individuals are less likely to form false memories than when they are given false or misleading suggestions that they experience an event of which they have more knowledge, for example, getting lost as a child. This is because false memory creation is more likely when people associate such suggestions with existing knowledge, activating non experienced details. Such activation can then generate the production of false memories. Concerning the second theme regarding the daydreaming and social interactions, our data show that mentally rehearsed behaviors such as conversations or interactions with friends or family can lead to the reporting of a memory. These findings support past research on imagination inflation, indicating that repeatedly imagining non-experienced events that are plausible increase the confidence that the event was indeed experienced or the action was executed. The explanation for this imagination inflation, for this effect, is that repeated imaginations lead to mental representations sharing similar features. For example, the number of visual details, the vividness, they're the same in terms of quantity and detail when imaginations are rehearsed and repeatedly rehearsed. Um, so these kind of mental behaviors can create mental representations that could seem to the daydreamer as originating from real events. So source monitoring errors might evolve when this happens, leading to false memories. We also found examples in our theme of blurred memories due to daydreaming that participants attempted to amend a real-life undesirable event. This result is interesting as it dovetails with research on the therapeutic effects of imagery rescripting. What is imagery rescripting? In this, it's a therapeutic intervention in which patients are asked to retrieve a traumatic memory. They are then instructed to change or rescript a negative emotional memory into a positive one using their imagination. Evidence indicates that this intervention can reduce um, various psychopathological issues. Finally, our data also showed examples in which others refuted memories in the respondent's social context, thereby making them realize that these memories were false and were likely daydreams. These examples echo research on non-believed memories, which refer to memories of events in which the belief in the occurrence of those events is reduced. This research has revealed that social feedback is one of the most potent factors leading to such non-believed memories. That is, this research shows that people are likely to reduce their belief in the occurrence of an event if others tell them that the memory is wrong. In a second study on maladaptive daydreaming and memory, we examined the nature and scope of traumatic daydreaming among individuals with maladaptive daydreaming. We wanted to understand how these individuals experienced the relationship between their traumatic daydreaming and I mean the scenarios of traumatic daydreaming and real adversities that they may have suffered in real life. In doing so, individuals were asked questions during an interview concerning the occurrence of trauma in childhood, whether they have daydreamed about trauma, whether they noticed any connection between their trauma-related daydreams and authentic experience, and fourthly, whether they ever had any difficulties in deciding if a traumatic memory originated from a daydream or an actual event. Many respondents, 56%, described past trauma events related to stressful family environments, social isolation, emotional and physical neglect, witnessing violence, sexual abuse, and most frequently bullying. These data show that trauma could be, in some cases, an antecedent to maladaptive daydreaming. Related to this, a slight majority of respondents also noted that their childhood traumas are sometimes reflected in their daydreams content. Specifically, we found examples of daydreaming about negative experiences of trauma and creating corrected versions of the experienced trauma. The latter is especially noteworthy because it suggests that during maladaptive daydreaming, childhood adversities are rescripted, which could aid in coping with the trauma. This might indicate that, at least for some individuals, maladaptive daydreaming can be regarded as a specific form of a coping mechanism. This latter finding also echoes another observation of our study. Most respondents did not confuse their immersive fantasies for a traumatic memory that is based on a real experience. So although research shows that the act of imagination can trigger the formation of false memories, our data did not support these findings. The corrected versions in our respondents' daydreams probably served as distinctive markers that decrease the risk of source confusion. Things that stand out are less likely to be misremembered later. We know that. Our brains are good at remembering things that are different or unusual. For example, imagine that you see a black car on your way to work every day. It's pretty ordinary, right? So you might not remember all the details about it later. But if you saw a bright pink car with purple polka dots, that would be much more memorable. Because it's so different, your brain pays more attention and is less likely to mix it up with other memories. In conclusion, our second study found that significant portion of individuals with maladaptive daydreaming reported prior trauma, with some incorporating those distressing experiences as themes within their imaginative content. Participants indicated that their daydreams often depicted traumatic events, but they did so in a corrected or positive manner compared to how the adversity originally occurred. Additionally, most respondents stated that they did not mix traumatic scenarios from their maladaptive daydreaming with authentic past personal experiences, suggesting an intact reality testing, and thereby a reduced risk for false memory. In conclusion, while daydreaming allowed for imagination and fantasy, it can also lead to blurred boundaries between reality and fiction. Importantly, though, for some individuals, the act of rescripting negative memories through immersive daydreaming may prove therapeutic, creating more positive mental representations. Additionally, reality testing appears intact for many maladaptive daydreamers, with traumatic fantasies correctly identified as imagined rather than real. As we continue unraveling the cognitive implications of excessive fantasy, we must consider both its risks and its potential benefits in coping and well-being. With nuance and compassion, future research can outline best practices for those who retreat into vivid inner worlds, ensuring their imaginations enrich rather than endanger their lives. Thank you.